Hello and welcome to the Marketing Times Analytics podcast. I'm your host, Alex Safranos, and today I'm on with Yaroslav Averyanov. Yaroslav, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Alex. Originally, I'm from Russia. I was born in a small city in western Siberia, and by the age of 13, 14, I started to be interested in things related to mathematics in general. I did my undergraduate studies in Moscow, Russia, in applied mathematics, and after that, I moved to France to do my graduate studies. And eventually, I did a PhD in statistics and developing a new method to choose some hyperparameters for some machine learning models. And this new method, it is actually not new, but it is called early slotting. I did my PhD, and after some time, I was hired by Xandr. Xandr it's an ad tech company, and previously it was called AppNexus. And I should say here that what I'm saying right now is only my own opinion, and it does not represent my company or anyone else. And Xandr has a full stack pipeline, ad tech pipeline, and it consists of a demand side platform for advertisers and a sell side platform for publishers and ad exchange in between. So by leveraging these technologies, we can connect advertisers to publishers holding an auction.
I'm curious more about how you see ad networks evolving in the future. You're at a very, big player in the industry. So what is your viewpoint on where the innovation will come from when it comes to the ad inventory ecosystem?
Yes, it's a great question. I think that, in my opinion, with the whole development of data science and machine learning and AI, there will be more and more automation and in the ad tech space. For instance, right now, what I can imagine is that AdNet, for instance, we can use AI in order to create ads, and by doing that, we can do it more efficient.
I guess I'm not really clear. So you're saying that just including more AI will make it a more efficient process? So what are some applications that AI could be added into? For instance, could it be like AI targeting? Could it be AI interface where you are shown the most impactful targeting placements based off of what you want to do, and like the AI interprets it? What are some examples of the way that AI can improve the process?
I would say that right now, if we consider the ad tech pipeline, it's not optimized, in my opinion, because there are a lot of middlemen between advertisers and publishers. And for instance, if an advertiser put $1 into that pipeline, then at the end, the publisher would get something like 40% of that sum. I think that what we can do is leveraging data science in order to optimize this, because not a lot of people know where 60% of that $1, where did we waste it? And if we use data science, we can automate, do it more efficient, and advertisers and publishers will be happy at the end.
Were you referring to MMM modeling at all, or are you referring to like a new way of determining ideal budget distributions and where to spend money?
It's not, I would say it's not about MMM. Let's say it's more, it can be more efficient bidding from the advertiser side, and let's say more, I would say just more transparent way of holding auctions, let's say, and a more transparent way of setting up floors on the publisher side.
Interesting. So you're saying there should be more transparency in the bidding and ad exchange, like valuing process?
Yes, yes, I would say that. Yeah, I mean, there is at the beginning we had an ad exchanges where there were second price auctions, and after that, the what we observed is that there was a change from the second price auctions to the first price auctions, and so the bidders and the ad networks they needed to change their bidding system in order uh, to to win auctions, new type of auctions. And what I was saying is that probably by doing another change in the auction system, we can get something better. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, this is my opinion.
I'm not gonna lie to you. You're kind of losing me here. So can you clarify what your point is?
Yeah, let's say from my perspective is that there should be something like more transparency in the ad tech pipeline, such that everyone should in the ad tech pipeline, publishers and advertisers should understand where they money where they wasted their money.
Right.
And we can use data science for that.
So what you're saying is the ad networks are designed for money to flow in, very much like a casino, and you're not supposed. It's designed for maximum intake of money, not for maximum results for customers necessarily. Like, and this is the problem with marketing as well, that there's this big debate across the industry. Does marketing drive traffic or does marketing drive sales? And who's responsible for the sales? Because marketing can't be responsible for all the sales, right? There's a sales team. But then what is marketing's job? How do you justify it? So there's this big fight. And I think the way the ad networks are positioned, they are selling volume of impressions, volume of people reached. They are not concerned as much with sales. So when it comes to impressions, you don't need a feedback loop. You can just offer impressions to people. They put the messaging on the site, they get their impressions out, and they pay you. And it's currently hard to do advanced analytics past that, like, impression level for an audience, especially with like display networks, things with anonymity. The industry doesn't have that second half developed yet that sort of optimizes the front half. They're just focused on getting as much money in as possible, right? All of the whole industry, that's just how the industry is structured. So what you're saying is the way that the industry will develop is to have more comprehensive analytics that tell you where your money worked harder for you and not as hard. And we already have little hints of that, but I think the anonymity is what's throwing it off. The walled gardens and not giving you the data. Is that kind of your point?
I would say that definitely walled gardens, they have their own advantage in that system. They have they have their own players in the system, and they understand more or less what's going on there. But if you are not a walled garden, then it's more complicated to understand what's going on. And for small players, it would be better to have more transparency.
Right.
And yes, of course, there should be sales team and marketing team. There is no problem.
Right, both being focused on bringing in sales. That's the interesting thing. I think that as the measurement of marketing improves, the tie to revenue strengthens, and that's just where the industry is going. Marketing is being seen increasingly as a lever for revenue. So if ad networks don't offer the opportunity to optimize the spend against the revenue, they will be obsolete. And I think that's very obvious. So I love the point that you're making. Are there any other developments that you expect across the industry?
I mean, I think my point is that there should be more automation of the system and more automated media buying.
Yeah, and in what ways? Like I was talking to a media buyer a few episodes ago, Gray, and he was talking about how when media buyers are looking for an audience across inventory, the audiences are not uniform. So there's different names and subsets, and they have to guess which ones fit what the client is trying to target. And this process is fragmented because there are multiple DSPs where you're getting your stuff from, your inventory from. So would this be one good area to automate, or do you think we'll always have a sort of a middleman between the strategy and the actual purchasing of the lists to make sure that the lists align with the strategy?
There is cookie deprecation right now going on in the industry, and in order to target your audience, you need something to identify it. And since there will be no cookies in 1 year, it should be harder and harder to target the audience. And so consequently, in my opinion, there will be always a middleman that will provide a solution for the ad network, how to do it.
So, sorry, what was the solution to the cookieless situation?
To create, so currently the multiple solutions, and one of the main solutions is some sort of universal ID, where this ID is based on some sort of hashed or encrypted emails or IP addresses, and this is what people use currently. And I think it will be good to do some magic and to implement something when we can target audience as if we had, but I don't know. I think it will not be possible.
What was the last part you just said?
It will be good if there will be like a solution, one solution that will solve the problem of the cookieless problem. But in my opinion, there will be always multiple solutions, and ad networks will need to choose one of them to target the audience.
Okay. Yeah, because it almost operates like a utility, like a business utility. So with any utility, there's going to be multiple providers because it's like a commodity. Ad inventory is somewhat commodified because you can buy it. You can buy inventory against any audience across multiple people, and the inventory doesn't differ much. Like, it's different kinds of the same stuff, so it's kind of a commodity at this point. So that makes sense that there will always be different people who are selling this commodity, being inventory, making different deals and offering different rates. So, and I like that. I think that's a good thing. I think also related to the cookie, I've done a lot of thinking and a lot of discussion. First of all, a lot of people don't think the cookie's ever going to go away, at least until there is a suitable solution that replaces it. So basically the logic, and this honestly to me is like, you could take it to the bank, that the industry is not going to choose to lose money. So they are not going to give up. The cookie would completely destroy the advertising ecosystem. It would probably like impact ad spend by like over 10% or something across the industry. That's like catastrophic. That's like a very big deal. So and that's like a great case if it was just 10%. It could be more. So the destruction of the cookie has been something that almost is more to coax the industry to make a decision about how to move forward in a privacy compliant way and know that they can't do what they're doing now forever. But I don't think that they mean it like, we're going to destroy the advertising industry. They're not going to do that. It's just like a lot of people agree with that that's unlikely. I'm not the only one. I'm kind of parroting it. Like I heard this, but it makes sense to me. And do you agree that it's unlikely that we will ever not have a way to track an individual, and actually in the future it'll probably get better at being able to track individuals across inventory?
So I think that regarding Google Chrome cookies, there was a news that I read that in 2024 they say that we will definitely deprecate it and that's all we will know. There will be no other way. And apparently they will start to test it, to test on like 1% at the beginning of the next year. And maybe you are right that maybe they after this test they will say, okay, maybe we should extend again and again and again the application. But
so it's a new cookie, or what are they developing?
They are developing so-called topics API, where it looks like contextual, it will be more like contextual target, as far as I understand. And instead of using cookie ID, you'll have something like, you put users who are interested in some kind of in different buckets and topics, different topics. Target by input.
I'm a little unclear on the last part. Could you repeat, or could you clarify?
Yes. So as far as I understand, Google is developing so-called topic API, and in order not to have cookie ID, you will have another ID that will represent one topic, and when you target the audience, then you use one of those topics. And this is how targeting will go. Instead of cookies, there will be topics.
Oh, so like putting people into audiences? I don't understand.
Putting people into topics they are interested in.
Okay. So that's similar to how the industry currently works, right? With like lists of different audiences that are available for purchase. Like you can buy against certain audiences and even remarket to certain audiences, like using pixels, for example. So like if I put a pixel on my website, I can retarget the people who visit my website on Facebook. So that's kind of like if the topic was people interested in my website, whatever that happens to be, and then I can target them because they have that interest on Facebook. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
I would not say that it's exactly like Pixel, but it's similar.
So the difference is it would be even more anonymous and you would just have the audiences. I hope that doesn't happen. And let me tell you why. Because it would be a lot harder to measure. You know, like what you want is the opposite. You want the ability to know that like Yaroslav came to my website, then I targeted him on this ad network. He responded. And therefore I want to give more money to this ad network versus that one because I got more value out of it. And I guess you could still look at a high level and say, I targeted this audience, but you still need a way to match that audience to customers that came in. You need to have a way to measure sales within that audience. The walled gardens are not playing like well with the market, and they're not giving the market very good data on those sales because it requires for them to tell you who was in that audience so that you can match it to who bought. So I hope that we get to a place where you can match it. I mean, we just need to come up with some cryptographic way to identify every person. It's not that complicated. We did it 100 years ago with social security numbers, or more than 100 years ago. It's like we did it with just numbers. Like we have crypto now. So I'm sure there's ways to have more privacy compliant, unique identifiers. Do you think that the industry is not going to go in that direction?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Maybe with some crypto, blockchain things.
Right. But do you think the industry will be receptive to it?
I think it will be a long process. If it happens, it will be not in the nearest.
Not what?
Not in the nearest future.
Okay. What is your timeline? How long do you think it'll take the industry to create basically a new version of the cookie that's more secure and more acceptable?
I think something like 5-10 years.
I would expect that too. I think 2030 is a good expectation for when that is going to happen. When we will have a global identification system. It's coming. I'm not making it happen. I don't want it to happen, but it's going to happen. So the question is, are we going to build businesses and prepare and be ready, or are we just going to let it happen and not make any money off of it? Right. So I'm like, okay, well, it's probably going to happen. So I'm actually excited for it.
I hope. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's actually in the best interest of the people. If you keep advertising at the like mass level without understanding the individuals you're impacting, advertising will continue to be noisy as heck and extremely cumbersome. When you're walking down the street, you see these ads everywhere. If you give advertisers the cookie, the billboards will go away. That's the power. If you can actually maximize the data collection and increase the signal to noise ratio online such that it's so much more efficient than these mass tactics, TV and all that stuff, unless you can find a way to measure it, which you can, then all those crappy advertisements that are not meant for you but get to you anyway, those go away. So it's a solution. It's like, it sounds uncomfortable, but actually all of this privacy stuff is making your day-to-day life less streamlined, and you're being distracted more, and like there's many more problems than if people could just measure, is the ad positively affecting your likelihood to purchase or not? And if you just give that data back to people, back to your first point, if you don't give that data back to the advertisers to know what's working and what's not, we're going to keep having this issue of overspending and having super low conversion rates across the industry, and super low in an objective sense. Like, we're talking, a good response rate is like, to say, like a good net sales rate across any business, 1% would be insane. If 1% of the people that you sent advertising to purchased, that would be insane. That's how small the net sales rates are across any business. And name any business in America that their net sales rate is under 1%, probably, unless they have like very few clients. So any B2C,
but
we need to improve that.
We need to improve, yes. And, but at the same time, we have regulations, and we don't know how maybe those regulations will also be different in the future, and maybe they will be stricter. For instance, here in the European Union, the regulations are very important. It's a very important topic, and probably in 2030 we will find a solution where you will use, I don't know, blockchain or things like that. But you will need to find another solution because new regulations will come up.
Right. The regulators don't understand what's going on, so they're just being impacted by lobbyists who actually like the fact that there are privacy restrictions, because like you have to imagine that the world is the way that it is because people want it to be that way. So why do people want to increase privacy regulations? Part of it may be that it encourages more ad spend, because the more of a black box the advertising world is, the more money goes into it, because they don't know what's good and bad. If you start telling people what's good and bad, they'll spend less money, because they'll only spend money on the good things. Right now, they're spending money on the good and the bad, and they spend a lot of money to make sure they hit all the good, regardless of the bad. So the privacy regulations almost encourage more spend.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. But yes, it's wasted money in some sense.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about how this is just like the pharmaceutical industry. The incentives of the advertising market are not to improve sales. It's actually the opposite. The incentive of the advertising markets is to maximize how much money companies spend on advertising. And that actually means not converting customers on the first touch. They want you to convert customers on the 10th touch, right before they start to become unprofitable. That's what the advertisers are incentivized to do. Just like in the pharma industry, they're incentivized to do whatever makes them the most money in any business. And unfortunately, that is unlikely to change.
I mean, this is, I would say, capitalism.
Yeah. How do we fix it? What do you recommend? But transparent, what exactly? What is not being shared? Is it kind of what we were talking about, the identity layer, where you need to say individual like Alex didn't purchase based off of this, so this spend was less efficient? I mean, because they already give some data on performance. It's not a total black box. It's just that they don't give you the names. So is that the piece of information you're saying that needs to be passed? Is the some kind of an identifier?
Yeah, I would say get some kind of an identifier will be. I mean, it will be good for advertisers to know on which on what they are spending their money.
Say that last part again.
What I was saying is that when I say transparency, I mean it would be nice to know for advertisers on what on which part of the ad tech pipeline they spend how do they spend their money to make forward.
And it can get more and more different levels of granularity too, right? So you have like what campaigns you spent your money on, you know when you spent your money, but you may not know more details about the individual placements and like what the nature of those placements were. Is that kind of what you're saying? Like we know what they tell us. Like obviously the media buyer is going to buy against a certain audience on a certain date. Like we do know where the money is going, but you're talking about specifics on the nature of the activity that the money is going towards. It's not just here's what we bought, which is currently the data. We get here's what we bought, and then we get like here's who clicked. But we don't get here's who clicked and purchased versus here's who just clicked. Is that the data that you're talking about?
Yes, this is one of the parts I have in mind. Here is the data about clicks, etc. Who clicked, and another part is the other part is there are keys inside the pipeline. It would be nice to know where those fees went and how my $1, how did I spend my $1? So in terms of clicks first and conversions, as you were saying, and in terms of money.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. Okay, and we haven't really gone into that. So how would you recommend a business approaches where to spend the next dollar in marketing?
What do you mean next $1?
Let me give you what I'm thinking. So there's various philosophies in businesses, but ultimately we can just speak generally that every business wants to make money. So every dollar you spend in marketing these days is tied to revenue, whether you like it or not. It's just a reality. Sometimes the executives will overlook how expensive something is, how little revenue it brings in, because they know there's a blind spot in measurement, but everything is always tied to revenue these days, at least, because we have the ability to. So we just do. So when you're tying something to revenue, you may be looking at direct revenue attribution. You may be looking at an MTA sort of thing where you're looking at impact to survivability of a customer. You may be looking at, there's various ways to value the return your spend. You can even use like testing versus control to understand the true impact of your marketing programs on customers by withholding certain marketing pieces. So basically, you need to find a way for your business to quantify the value that marketing is bringing to you. And then you need to create some system that values all of the different options you have to spend your money at any one time, and organizes them, prioritizes them, in fact, in order of that profitability or that return to the business. However your business chooses to measure it, there's different ways to do it. And so long that you know at any one time where the best return is for that spend, then you will always know where is the place to put that best next dollar. That's sort of what I would say. But then my question to you is, what does that system look like? When you're looking at where is the next best dollar, what are you looking at to create an algorithm like that? What do you recommend a business uses for profitability, to measure profitability, or to, like, basically just, do you have any advice on that process? If you're helping a business to decide where that next best dollar is, what do you recommend that they think about?
Yeah, I would say that there is already a solution where, for instance, when you launch a campaign, you know that there is your KPI, your target KPI, where you know that you want to achieve $1 cost per click, right? And if so one of the ways to spend your $1 to spend it on click. And if you are asking me about a new algorithm to to spend it more, it could be to improve what you do when you do business. So if you can improve your business and you can improve how you spend your budget.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Yaroslav. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat today. It's been great to hear from you. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll talk to you soon.